We are going to talk about preparing to be a wife, how to be a wife, how to be a better wife. We're going to touch on some mature topics. And I was like, I ain't putting up with this. You have to figure out what works for you. We've been married 21 years. I was like, Sister Tide, brother, hold up. You got to work with me now. We're going to have some days off. What's up, y'all? I'm Nay, and this is Revived Warfare. This is a platform where we learn the art of war in every area of our lives. It is my passion to see giant killers like yourself arise. Today, I want to talk to my ladies. We are going to talk about preparing to be a wife, how to be a wife, how to be a better wife. I have been married for 21 years to my amazing husband, and it has not always been easy, but it's been worth it. So I want to first say, if there are babies in the room, go ahead and either put earphones in or pause this video and come back later, because we're going to touch on some mature topics, shall I say. Okay. I don't think there's one woman that I know that doesn't desire to get married. I remember as a kid, I used to dream about who I would marry. Remember those little games we used to play, the MASH? And it would be like, where you put I wonder if that was witchcraft. Now I think about it, because remember you had to put 3 dudes' names, how many kids you will marry and all that, and you had to do the numbers and then pick all that. I don't know, that because it was kind of wasn't real, but I don't know, that was a little touch with that. But anywho, y'all remember playing those games, right? Now I do know there are some that God has called to be single. Some people are anointed for that. I haven't met one person. Haven't met one that said they felt anointed to be single. So if you desire to be married, this video is going to, I want to help you. I want to equip you with how and what it takes to be married, to be a wife. If you are already a wife, I hope this video will help you be a better wife. To just rekindle that flame in your marriage. And, you just look at him differently. So I just want to help you. I just want to give you some nuggets to help you. This will be a 2-part video, by the way. So this is part 1. Okay, so like I said, I've been married for 21 years, right? Me and my husband met when we were 20, and our story is a lot different than many. But we only knew each other for 2 weeks when we got married. And we didn't know each other at all. Don't do that. Don't be us. You hear me? Do not do that. We tell our kids all the time, do not do that. And then we eloped. So that was even... Like, we were just like, we're going to get married and we're going to elope. We tell our kids to not do that, because you never know. Like, nowadays, it's crazy out here. It's real crazy. So get to know whoever you decide to marry. Don't just rush into it, because marriage should not be taken lightly. I feel like because it's taken lightly, that's why so many couples divorce. Because we take it lightly. My pastor was saying, like, we get married and we hear the for better, and we hear the for good, and we hear the for health. But it's like we don't hear that for better or worse, for good or bad, and richer and poorer. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all of that. Marriage is a selfless union. We should be... when you get married, or if you are married, it's to serve your husband. Now, when I say this, let me make sure I make myself clear, because we are supposed to submit. But when I say serve, like, you should be partnered with your spouse. Like me and my husband, we're partners. We're friends. So when I serve him or when he tells me to do something, like for instance, we were at a church and I was like, it's time to go. It's time to leave. And he was like, God did not release us to leave. We can't leave yet. But if he had said that to me the wrong way, like I said, we staying here and that's what goes, I don't think I would have submitted as easily. But because he explained it to me, because he's my friend, number one, he's my partner, because he explained to me, God has not said we can leave yet. I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to him. So you should be partners. So if you're thinking about getting married, make sure you marry somebody. First, date somebody and become their friend. And then if you're married, if you don't feel like you and your spouse are friends, you can be. Things can change. Prayer changes things, y'all. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the prayer and how it changes things in a little bit. Okay, so just a little backstory on myself. If you don't know, I'm from Philly, North Philly, Raymond Rosen Projects, Diamond Street. But I'm from Philly, right? And I grew up really fast. So when I was 13, I got pregnant and I had my son at 13. Had him in December. So I was pregnant, that whole year. Pregnant at 13, had him at 13. I grew up knowing too much, seeing too much, experiencing too much, right? But my mom, she moved us out of Philly to West Virginia. When I moved to West Virginia, that's where I gave my life to the Lord. I was a teenager. Well, the church that we were in, there were a lot of healthy couples. Well, from the outside looking in, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. But the Lord placed me around a lot of healthy couples, right? And the one great thing about this church, well, there are many great things about it, but they would have yearly marriage conferences. And they would say, it's not just for married people. If you are single and you want to get married one day, we encourage you to come so that you can learn and you can prepare for marriage. So that's what I would do. I would go to these marriage conferences. In my mind, I had already dated. I had already had boyfriends, and so I was like, I don't want any more boyfriends. I want to be married. I want my husband. And I was probably like 16, 17. But I knew that I didn't want to date anymore. I knew I wanted to meet my husband. And so, like, even when I met my husband, one of the first things I said to him after he was, because he was trying, hey, how you doing, all that, doing all that smooth stuff. And he was cussing, y'all. He was supposed to be a church boy, right? But he was doing all this cussing, right? And I was like, hold on, you want to stop cussing and all that. Now, I don't suggest, hold up, let me say this. I don't suggest you choose somebody that's cussing. Make sure he, for real with the Lord. My husband was a heathen. But needless to say, I was supposed to marry him. Okay, but one of the first things I said to him was, I'm waiting for my husband. So if you don't feel like you marriage material, don't even waste my time. And he was like, nah, that's cool because I'm looking for my wife. So I was like, okay, he's speaking my language, right? So I felt like I had already did the dating stuff. So I knew I wanted to be married. So I would go to these marriage conferences, right? And I would just be like, I was like a sponge, y'all. I was soaking it up. So the very first thing that I remember that stuck out to me was 4 wives. This is if you are already married or if you desire to be married. Sex is a man's number one need. It's his number one need. They're visual, and that's just how God wired them. So we have to make ourselves available. When you get married, you have to make yourself available in that area. One thing I was taught during the conferences, they said, don't use it as a way to manipulate, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, so you ain't getting none. Don't do that. I can honestly say in 21 years, I have never done that. I don't do that. As a matter of fact, I told y'all we going deep, y'all. We going deep. For like maybe the first, I'm gonna say 7-8 years, your girl was ministering. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Every day. I mean, I was like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take care of my man. So I'm talking about every day I was ministering, y'all. And except for, when our time of month is. So I was ministering. And then later on, we were married 21 years. I was like, Sister Tide, brother, hold up. You got to work with me now. Like, we're going to have some days off. But I make sure that we are very active 3 times minimum. Now, we have a whole schedule, but 3 times minimum a week. Like, I'm making sure my boo taken care of. Forget what you heard, because ain't no other heifer going to catch his eye. I'm going to make sure mama taking care of business at home. So you better make sure, if you married, you taking care of brother man. That's his number one need. When you get married, look me in my eyes when I say this. That's his number one need. Not a want. Need. He needs it. It's how he's wired. Take care of him. Let me tell you how important sex is. Think about if you're a virgin, praise God, that's awesome. If you've never had any partners other than your spouse, that's awesome. But for those of us that that's not our testimony, have you ever been with a guy, right? And you had sex with him, and then you tried to break up with this dude. And like, I've never been in an abusive relationship, but let's just say dude laying his hands on you and everything. And you try to leave him, but for the life of you, you just keep going back. You don't know why. You just like, I love him. Like, I gotta be with him. We don't realize it's because there's a soul tie. When you have sex with somebody, there is a soul tie. It's spiritual, right? So when you make love with your husband, when y'all having sex, y'all are literally creating a bond in the spirit, and that bond is not easily broken. That's why you have to make sure, when I say this is priority, it is priority. Not only because it's his need, but because it does something in the spirit. So wives, come on. If you've been slacking in that area, baby, it's time to brush off the dust and get creative again. Okay, well, you know what I'm saying? Just be like, all right, I'm gonna get this little outfit, baby. And even if, let me tell you something, because I've been pregnant I've been pregnant 4 times, so my body has been looked all kind of crazy, all kind of everything. But you best believe I'll be having you better get outfits. I'm going to take it down. You better get your outfits. Make sure you're putting on little cute shorts and stuff. Because he's visual. Like, he needs to see. Like, baby, I got what I got at home. You think I'm about to mess up that? But mess up what I got at home for some heifer out here? Baby, he ain't like, When he's taken care of at home, you good. So that's number one. Make sure you take care of your husband. Make sure you keep yourself fresh. I remember my first lady, after we eloped, she had a sit-down conversation with me, and she said, all right now. She is from New York, but she would talk real soft. She from New York, but she would talk real soft. She was like, all right now, you got to make sure you keep it fresh down there. She's very sophisticated. Make sure you keep it fresh down there. I was like, yes, ma'am. Okay. And so, like, we got to make sure we keep it together, And I know the struggle of losing weight. So, like, just try to keep your body healthy. Try to stay healthy. Try to keep yourself fit. But because I know the struggle of losing weight, I know it's not as easy as people say it is. But at least let them know that you're trying to keep yourself up. You're trying to look good for him, because it matters. It really does. Okay, so for those of you that want to get married, girl, if you want to get married one day, and you're like, okay, how do I prepare to be a wife? And if you're married and you were never taught these things, let me help you. One thing I did while I was still living with my mom, I moved out at 18, but I think at 17, before I turned 18, because I was like, man, I'm about to get up out of here. Love my mama, but I was like, I got to be on my own. So one thing I would do was I went and I stocked up on pots and pans and dishes like cups and tissue, things like that. I stocked up on it. And then when I moved out, I had my own apartment. I mean, it wasn't an apartment, it was a townhouse. Had my own little spot. I made sure I kept those things stocked. And so I bought them in bulk. And then I made sure I kept the food. Like, I made sure I kept the food. And one thing, I made sure I knew my money. Now, I've always been a businesswoman. Even since I was a little girl, y'all, I would, be playing a little candy lady and stuff like that. So I always been a businesswoman, and I always saved my money. So when I moved out, let me just say this. For some women, your husband does all that, takes care of all the bills and all of that. And for some women, you do the bills and things like that. So it's different for every marriage, and it's just different for different people. Some marriages, they both do it, but for us, I take care of the bills and things, right? But ever since I was a little girl, I always was on top of my stuff, right? So when I got my own place, I made sure that like a week or so before the next month, and sometimes I would plan a couple months ahead of time, I would make sure I knew how much all my bills were. I would know how much I had coming in. And I like say if something was due between the 1st and the 15th, whatever money I had coming in between the 1st and the 15th, I would write it down and pay those bills. And I would make sure I paid them early and make sure I paid them in full. And then between the 15th and the end of the month, I would do the same thing. So I would make sure my bills were paid on time. Because I was like, when I get married, I want to actually be a helper to my husband. Like, because he's going to be working, he's going to be taking care of me. Now, mind you, I do work, but I don't have to. But I was like, he gonna take care of me, so I need to know how to handle that money, baby. So I like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna make sure I know how to handle my money. So make sure a girl know how to handle money. You gotta know how to handle money. You can't spend it all the time. Now, I'm just not a spender. I would actually rather save. I get money, I pay my offering, I'll probably take a little bit off of it. I'll probably take less than what my offering was. And then I just put the rest in savings, because I'm like, I ain't got time to be something come up. I need money. You know what I'm saying? So just make sure you can help, and make sure you're on top of keeping the house clean. You're on top of keeping toothpaste. What's it called? Dishwashing liquid, soap, all that stuff. Make sure you keep that stocked up in the house. Don't run out. That's our job, to make sure everything in the house, like we take care of. I mean, and if you work outside the home and it's swapped in your home, then it's, I'm not talking to you. It's going to be different for you. But for us, that we keep up the home. This is what we do. Let's make sure we keep that stuff stocked. That's what we do. Laundry detergent, all that. Now, if you are not married, whoever you are considering, if you're considering anyone right now, or whoever you're dating, make sure you're friends. Be his friend. Make sure he's your friend. Make sure he supports you the way you need to be supported. You can't overlook anything like that, because the things we overlook that are small in the beginning will become huge problems later on. So if like me, my love language, one of them anyway, is I need to be affirmed. Like, I need you to, I need it. I need you to notice me. I need you to notice what I'm doing. I need you to be like, okay, I'll give an example. When we, early on, probably the first year, when we got married, I would do it up, especially on Sundays. I still do it up. Do my hair, do my makeup, make sure I was cute, all of that. And we go to church, right? And after maybe a couple months, I was like, homeboy ain't gave me not one compliment. What is this? And see, let me just first tell y'all this about me. I don't hold stuff in. So, like, if it's bothering me, I'm gonna say something. You know, you have those that you kind of hold it in. That ain't me. That ain't never been my struggle. I'm gonna say something. I might say it wrong, and then we got a whole issue there. But I'm not holding that in. So I was like, I get cute every week, and I ain't got not one compliment, you know. So early on, like, I was like, bro, I need this from you. And I probably didn't say it right in the moment, but he got it. He understood it. And now every time I get dressed, he makes sure. He be like, oh, babe, you look good. You look beautiful. So, like, make sure that while you're dating, he's your friend. Make sure that he is what you need in a husband. He don't have to look like what you wanted, because, to be honest, when I met my husband, I was like, I don't know if I like this dude. I truly didn't. I was like, I'll go on another date. And then when I went on that second date, I was like, who is this guy? You know, and of course it had to all happen quick because we got married after just 2 weeks. But he may not look like everything that you had on your list. But just make sure that the important things that really matter to you, like, does he love the Lord? Does he serve God? Does he pray? Does he have a job? Does he keep a job? Is he lazy? Does he sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning? Is he on the game all day? Like, those things are important. Man, if you're married, like, you in it now, boo. You can pray. You can sit down and have conversations. You can go to therapy. But yeah, so, like, make sure he is what you need in a husband. Understand this. If you're married and if you're getting married, if you want to get married, he is not perfect. He will never be perfect. He's not God. So you can't expect perfection from him. You have to give him grace. Sometimes he's going to get it wrong. Sometimes he's going to talk to you wrong. But that's the beauty of marriage. Me and my husband, our marriage doesn't look anything like it looked in the beginning. 21 years later, I'm a completely different person. He's a completely different person. We've literally grown up together. We have learned so much of life together. He has made mistakes. I have made mistakes. I've had to forgive him. He's had to forgive me. I will say this, because this is important. You need to know this. Whatever you accept from a man is what he's going to give you. If you put up with him cussing you out, you tolerate that, he's going to keep cussing you out. If you let him know up front, that ain't how we get down, boo. No, sir. A prime example. Early in marriage, before my husband, like, again, I'll say he grew up in church, but he really wasn't living for the Lord when I met him. He'll tell you his own testimony, like, this is not a secret, but, you know, he used to get high a lot. He used to smoke a lot of weed, right? But we had babies. I had a son. I'm trying to think if we just started out with my son, and, you know, we had our second son with, you know, a year later because we planned him. But he would get high. He would smoke weed, and I would be like, yeah, no, that's not, you can't do that here. We got kids. So he knew automatically, like, my wife ain't going for that. Like, nah, I cannot get high at the house, right? So what he would do was he would go out, he would hang out with his friends and all of that, right? But he would be out, like, all the time. Like, he wasn't even married. And I was like, I ain't putting up with this. And so I'm not suggesting that you do what I did. You have to figure out what works for you. But I was like, bro, I don't know if you out sleeping with somebody. I don't know what's going on. So I was like, divorce. Get your stuff. You have to go. And we're going to divorce. And I went and I filed for divorce. because I had a standard. I'm not saying, don't hear me wrong, I'm not saying go file for divorce. What I'm saying, if you're dating or if you want to be married, I didn't have time to prepare because I got married in 2 weeks. Prepare well so you don't have to deal with something like that. If you're married, I don't suggest divorce. I suggest counseling and all those other things. But my story is, I was like, this is unacceptable. He realized quickly that he wanted his family, and he changed things. Now, for us, we ended up leaving West Virginia. We moved to Texas. And that was big. That was a big deal for us. That really, I feel like if we had stayed in his hometown, West Virginia, I don't feel like our marriage would have survived. It just wouldn't have. But you got to have a standard. You got to know. You have to make it very clear what you are willing to tolerate. You have to make it clear what you're not going to tolerate, because whatever you tolerate, you're gonna get. Now, before I got married, I prayed for my husband. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he was doing, but I would pray every night for my husband. I would be like, Lord, I don't know who he is, but I pray that you protect him. I just pray over him. I would just pray prayers over my husband. I didn't know who he was, but I prayed over him. And if you're married, I still pray over my husband. Because we dealt with, like later on in marriage, I'll say maybe at like the 10-year mark, like my husband's real serious. He's just real serious. He can be goofy sometimes, but it's not often. Like he makes me laugh all the time, but he's very like no nonsense. He's real serious, right? And he used to be so egotistical, though. It would be like, he would say little things like, I'm trying to think of a good example. He would just say little things, and it would make me feel small. I can't think of an example, but it would be things like, yeah, you're the woman. That's what you're supposed to do. And it was just like, hold up, bro. Like, we're not about to do that. Like, I just felt real disrespected. I felt not valued, like my opinion didn't matter. And I was like, okay, it got so bad. And let me clarify, he was never abusive. He was never like, shut up, you're stupid. You're just like, it was never nothing like that. It was like real, I don't even know how to describe it. But I was like, I'm not standing in no marriage like this. I was like, I'm out. 10 years into it, y'all. But I was saved. I mean, I was saved when I met him too, but I was like closer to the Lord. And so I prayed a prayer and I said, God, before I leave, I'm going to pray for my marriage. And what God began to do is we began watching, I can't think of the man's name, something Evans, and he did a lot of teaching about marriage, and he dealt with that. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it's what I'm dealing with. And my husband, he just began to watch it with me. And it was really like I can say at that time I didn't feel like we were partners. I didn't. But now I feel like we're partners in ministry, all of that. Because I prayed about what was going on in my marriage. Understand that he has feelings. Although he's a man, this macho man, he's human and he has feelings. And when you cut him, he bleeds. And this is important because I didn't get this. I didn't understand this early in our marriage. And it could be because I didn't have my dad. So I never saw the soft side of a man. I only knew the hard, the rough parts of a man. So I was like, you don't bleed if you're cut, like you have no feelings. So like I already have a sharp mouth, like, y'all, maybe this mouth. So I really had to, like, when I get mad and you have provoked me to anger, like I will cut you down. Like, especially if I feel, okay, here's an example, right? So early on, he'll do this now. Early on, if I was about to go to the store or something and I didn't put on makeup, he would be like, where's your makeup? And I interpreted that as, are you saying I'm ugly without it? I can't go out without it? And so when he would say, where's your makeup? I would, every flaw I saw, I would name that thing such and such and such. And you can't do that. Like, you can't do that. So you have to learn how to communicate. When you're hurt, you have to learn how to be vulnerable and say, this is how I feel. When you said this is what I heard. And I don't appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to learn how to communicate. You have to understand, because like where I'm from, if somebody come at you like that, that's how you come back. And like, that's just a normal response. But when, I'll say it like this, he could dish it, but he couldn't take it. He wasn't crying or nothing, but I could tell, like, I was like, oh, you just hit me with it. But when I hit you back, you couldn't take it. So understand that they're human. They cut, they have feelings. They cry, and just be sensitive to that. This is what I struggled with, being vulnerable, because I don't like to cry. I don't like to cry in front of him. I don't like to cry in front of any. Now, when I'm worshiping, that's like, I don't consider that crying, because that's worship. That's how I express my worship. But for me to cry because I have been hurt, I don't like to do that. And so it's still a challenge. And I think it stems from when I was younger. So much trauma, y'all. But when I was younger, and I think I got in trouble or something. And I don't know if I got popped or what, but I was crying. And when I was, and as I was crying, I don't know who it was, but they was like, she ain't even crying. Look at her. She ain't even got no tears in her eyes. You need to stop faking. And so I was like, wow, like I'm expressing, like I'm hurt here. And you're telling me that I'm not even crying? And so I think from that moment, I was like, you'll never see me cry again. Nobody will ever see me cry. And so, like, I'm still dealing with that. But express how you feel. If you're hurt, tell him you're hurt, because he needs to know. He can't read our mind. They can't read our minds. Learning how to communicate in marriage is vital. So if you're not married yet, start working on you, all of your flaws. Be honest with yourself. Work on your flaws so that when you get married, because you're still going to have to work on you even when you're married. We've been married 21 years, and I'm still working on me. He's still working on himself. It's a learning, like you literally get to learn and grow together for a lifetime. All right, that's it for this episode, y'all. I hope it wasn't too long. I don't know. So next week, we're still going to stay on this marriage topic, preparing to be a wife and how to be a better wife. But we're going to go into when we start having children, teenagers, adults, kids in college, grandchildren, in-laws. We're going to tackle those sides of marriage. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoy content like this, I would ask you to go ahead and hit like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and leave me a little message in the comments. Tell me what you thought about it. And also tell me what you would like me to hit on in next week's episode. Go to my website, revivedwarfare.com. What I am going to do is I'm going to have a section on my website where the episodes are on there as well. If you don't know, I wrote a book back in 2020. It's called Stubborn Faith. If you need your faith strengthened in any way, shape, or form, if you want to learn to believe God for the impossible, I highly recommend that book. It's on my website, revivedwarfare.com. All right, that's it. That's all I got for today. I will see y'all next week. God bless you. Jesus loves you. So do I. See ya.